Let me tell you something that might sound unfair, but it's true. Casting starts forming impressions within the first 15 seconds of watching you. And no, it's not about talent or perfection. It's about presence. In this episode, we're unpacking what's really happening before you say your first line and why rushing reads as nerves, and how one small shift can instantly make casting lean forward instead of pulling back. This is Casting Actors Cast.
Casting actors cast, what a show! With Jeffrey Dreisbach, we're ready to go. From agents to gigs, learn what you lack. Tune in every week, we're bringing you back.
You've done more auditions than a casting director has said, thanks, we'll be in touch. It's time you got serious and learned acting strategies, audition secrets, and tips to grow. Get the Actor's Playbook for Getting Cast. Booked It by Jeffrey Dreisbach. Available right now. Also introducing Next Level Auditions, the online video course. Why not get both? Call it the Ultimate Audition Toolkit. You won't find these on sale because they're worth every penny. If you're serious about your acting career, this is your next step. This is your moment. Let's make it count. CastingActorsCast.com. Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Casting Actors Cast. I'm casting director Jeff Dreisbach. I work with McCorkle Casting in New York and have done so for over 15 years. Glad to have you here. I'm looking forward to sharing this episode because if you've ever wondered why some actors feel watchable the moment they appear, guess what? This is the conversation that you've been missing, and we're going to get you up to speed on this episode. But first, very briefly, I would like to encourage you to check out the website, castingactorscast, all one word.com. All kinds of interesting information there about the podcast. Also, YouTube videos are watchable there. You can also check out my new book. You can check out my new course. You can also go ahead and fill in that form that says dive into the talent pool, which will open up some freebies for you, absolutely free of charge. A book that I wrote on doing voiceover work. Plus, there's a video called Casting Secrets, What They Don't Tell You. All of those, when you fill out that form, those are completely free. And I really would love to hear from you. There's a place there you can leave me a note. You can ask a question, make a comment, any of those things. And I just want to take an additional moment and just thank those people who've been writing to me. I do read your comments and your questions, and I try to incorporate them into all of the future podcasts. So if you're listening, you're probably going to hear me referencing a question that you've already sent to me. So do listen, do stay there. And I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you as we travel this journey together in terms of getting the inside scoop from a casting director and what it really is to be an actor in today's industry. Let me just share now that what I think we are absolutely wired, we as casting directors, we are absolutely wired to perceive presence. We perceive confidence and emotional truth. We can do that, frankly, almost immediately. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. We're going to explore what casting is actually seeing in those first few seconds, those first 15 seconds. Now, listen, I'm sure you've heard that before. That casting makes a decision within the first 15 seconds. Well, you know what? As I mentioned, that is true. But we also need to dive a little bit deeper into the subtle mistakes that I see actors making without even realizing it. And then we're going to talk about how to create instant connection in those first 15 seconds. And also why stillness is much, much more powerful than speed. So let's start off by talking about why first impressions exist in film acting. The way I feel about it is quite simple, and that is film and television are what I call intimacy mediums. The camera magnifies the truth. The audience senses authenticity instantly. And casting happens to be the very first audience that you get. So that's why it becomes very, very important to make that first impression. But I have to tell you, we're not looking for perfection. What we want to sense life. Are you present? Are you thinking? Are you connected? Or are you preparing to perform? There is definitely a difference. Here's what casting is reading before you even speak. Before dialogue begins, we notice the following. We notice breath patterns. We do. We notice eye focus. We know physical ease versus tension in your body. We also can sense emotional availability. We can also notice listening presence, what I like to think of as grounded stillness. Now, let me just share that this is not conscious judgment. I don't say to myself, oh my gosh, are they showing me grounded stillness? That's not what happens. But what happens is we remain open and sensitive to the energy that is coming from you. And so it really is much more about emotional perception. We feel whether someone is alive and in the moment. I'm sure you've heard that before, in the moment. And here's the most common first seconds mistakes that I see actors making. So we need to slow this down just a little bit. Now, I want to make it clear that these are not bad acting mistakes. These are nervous system mistakes. First and foremost is rushing into dialogue. Actors feel pressure to begin quickly, but rushing signals anxiety. Presence signals confidence. Starting with performance instead of listening. If your first line begins at an emotional intensity without an incoming thought, we feel the performance begin before the moment exists. That's what we need to feel. So before the first line, we need to know where the character is at emotionally. See, film acting actually begins with receiving. Okay, somebody write that down. That was really good. Film acting begins with receiving, being receptive to what just took place. Now, I know you've heard this many times, I'm sure, especially when working on monologues. Remember in acting school, the teacher always talked about the moment before. In other words, what just happened that made you have the need to begin speaking. Guess what? That absolutely still applies in any film or television audition that you have. Really take the time. And here's some examples of how to fill that time. Eyes are searching for the words instead of the thoughts. In other words, how do I say this, right? That's the internal monologue that you've got for yourself. Okay, now how do I make sense of this? That's the internal subtextual elements of that. See, thoughts impact immediately when actors look for memorized lines. You know that moment that you've memorized the lines and the eyes absolutely disconnect from the moment. So that's why it's important to establish the moment first. Because we see recall instead of thinking. Then there's a mechanical rhythm that actors fall into, what I call the line delivery rhythm. See, real speech is thought driven. Real moments are created because of the thought. And so it's so true. And I've changed my tune, I have to say, just a little bit. I used to talk about casting isn't really that concerned about your memory. And so I used to say this, memorizing the script might be harmful only because you're also memorizing how you're going to do it. And I'm changing my tune just a little bit. I think a lot of energy should go into the script itself without the pressure of memorization. And see, if you think about that, then pretty much you're going to be memorizing the script without the pressure of memorizing. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Because once you give yourself just what is the thought that is driving the moment of whatever you're saying, then you are making really interesting connections. But if you force the memorization of the work, you're also kind of memorizing how you're going to do it. And see, we need spontaneity and flexibility in the work. There's another kind of energy that is perceived very early on, again, within the first 15 seconds. And that's what I call apologist energy. It's a subtle, energetic kind of hesitation that says, I hope this is okay. Are you that person? See, confidence says, I am here. What works instead is this. We need to talk about what I call the shift. Allow the moment before the first line. That's what I mean, the moment before. Take the breath. See the other person. Allow the thought to land. Let the words arrive because they must. Stillness communicates authority. That's true. Stillness can communicate trust. Stillness invites the audience in. That's valuable. We're going to talk about the power of the pre-line moment, the moment before, right after this. Welcome back. We're talking about the first 15 seconds that casting observes and really does influence the decision-making process of your audition. And we were also just talking about the moment before and what I call the power of the pre-line moment. That is the moment before. One silent beat before speaking can absolutely transform an audition. I've seen it happen many, many times. Here's why. It shows thought processing. It shows listening. It shows presence. This is life on camera. Actors who have a tendency to rush look like they're starting a race. Actors who arrive, they look like they're living a moment. That's challenging. Living a moment. I want you to be in the moment. I don't want you to show me the moment. And you know, I've said that many, many times. And so that actor's first energy impression is something that we absolutely are sensitive to. But I want to share a casting secret. You know what? We're not looking for speed. We are looking for life. And you know what? As a casting director and as a teacher, I don't like giving pace notes. I don't like saying, oh, that could go a little more quickly, or that you need to slow that down. I never liked it when I was an actor, and I certainly don't like it giving that to actors now. But if I say something along the lines of, make sure that the other person really understands you, guess what? Now we're getting a truthful pace. If you're making sure that the other person is understanding, that means that you're delivering the words at a pace you know we can understand. And that is life. That's what we're looking for. And speed simply just reads as nerves. Life reads as truth. Now let's talk about what I call the lean-in effect. And when you are present, we, meaning casting directors, lean forward. Also the producer and the director, sometimes literally. And when you are, quote, performing, we have a tendency to lean back. In other words, we don't do it intentionally. We don't do it in a mean way. It just means that we become much more passive in our observation of you in character. When we are active with you, then that empathy is there, and that sense of danger is also there. And this is very, very subconscious, I know. But guess what? It's still very, very powerful. I think we should also share a little bit about why actors rush. I think actors rush because they feel time pressure. That is so true. You know, you show up to the audition on time. The audition is running 10 minutes late. I'm talking about live auditions now, of course. And so you made every effort to be there on time or hopefully a little early. And now you realize you've got 15 more minutes before you're going to be seen. That's very challenging because you're feeling ready when you walk in the door, and now you have to put that on hold until it is your time to come into the audition room. And so by the time you have to come into the audition room, that is time pressure. Now, what happens is psychologically, you try to summon up that same I'm ready energy when you've for 15 minutes. And now you come into the room with that sense that we have to get through this because I've been waiting and I don't want to keep others waiting. And there's all kinds of psychology about that that goes into it. And so actors naturally feel very, very rushed with their audition rather than taking the time to be present. There's also what I call judgment pressure. The judgment pressure is literally that if you can go very, very quickly, then there's going to be less to for us casting producers, directors to judge the work. In other words, there's also a sense that rushing the work is a sign of intelligence because you can read very, very briskly and with clarity. Well, that's not really the truth either. Judgment pressure is something to really take a look at because it's keeping you from being fully present. Moving on, I think there's also a fear of silence, fear of those beats, those moments where you're processing, because we feel that those silences are kind of uncomfortable. They might be uncomfortable for you in life sometimes, but let me tell you, in character, it can be absolutely mind-bogglingly fantastic because you are now in control. The character is having an experience. We are experiencing the character's experience. Okay, somebody write that down. That was really good. So fear of silence simply means we want to fill in those voids as opposed to giving real world attention to those spaces, to those emotional shifts that take place in scenes. There's another reason why I believe actors have a tendency to rush, because there's this subliminal fear of being boring. Please no, silence is not boring. Silence, boy, it can be used as tension. Silence can be used as you processing the thought. Silence is reality. So here's an exercise I want to share with you. It's called the breath shift. I want you to record a scene. I want you to record it twice. Now, version 1, I want you to start immediately. In other words, no moment before. Just go right into the scene, right in character, very, very quickly. Now, in version 2, I want you to allow one full silent breath before speaking every line. One full silent breath before speaking every line. Okay? You got it? Then I want you to watch both. When you compare, you're going to see the difference instantly. Now, there's always a danger. I'm not suggesting that an audition needs to have the same amount of silence before you speak any line. That becomes a rhythm thing that's boring and not very appealing. It's also a bad habit to get into. However, I want to tell you that processing time that you can fill, that makes sense for you to fill. And the way it makes sense is that what the other character just said might need some time to process. If the answer is, I'm going to need time to process that information or that line or that emotion, whatever, then do that. But please don't make it a habitual thing. But you're going to see the difference big time. Also, let me just share this, especially in film and TV, the editor is going to love you, because it becomes very clear when you're processing information that editor can make a cut and go from one character to another character with ease and with the full understanding of what's actually taking place in the scene. So that's just a really good habit to get into, again, as long as you're able to fill in with an emotional place. In other words, it's not just an arbitrary breath, beat, or pause. It's something that is organic to the moment. Okay, no, I said that word, organic to the moment. But you're going to see the difference very, very quickly. Now, let me just tell you a little bit more about what confidence does look like on camera. And let me share this, that confidence, I promise you, is not big. Confidence is ease. Confidence is comfort with stillness. Confidence is trust in the moment. And I can tell you from the many, many, many auditions I've been in, the many auditions I've seen, that when I get a sense of confidence, again, without being cocky, when I get a sense of groundedness and stillness, there is, and that trust in the moment, there is a really satisfying, comforting place for me to be. I am now much more vulnerable and really much more available to being open to what you have to offer. This is what I call a real casting observation. Actors who simply take their time, they just feel grounded. Actors who rush feel unsure, feel insecure. Let me just tell you this, grounded actors, they book more. They do, no kidding. It's not because they're better. It's because they are watchable. See, when the first 15 seconds goes wrong, don't stop. I want you to simply breathe. Don't ask to go back. Don't say, may I start over? It doesn't matter. Stop. Take a breath. And guess what? Here's the good news. If your start is present, is there in the moment, has an emotional reaction, we relax. And when we relax, we watch. When we watch, we feel. When we feel, we remember you. See, I know, easier said than done sometimes. You just have to have some self-awareness. Are you the actor who has a tendency to rush? If you're not sure, you need to get some feedback, whether it's from a teacher, a fellow actor, when you're working on something together. It's important that you know if you are falling into that trap, because once you fall into that trap of rushing a little too quickly, jumping into the scene with all kinds of energy that doesn't really make sense, then you will be able to see how to adjust. And when you do that, when you see how to adjust, you will absolutely see a difference in your auditions. If you don't do that, it continues to become habitual. And that means it's going to be more difficult to break that cycle, that rhythm. Okay, I just made you all a lot of money right now. I want you to know that. So let me give you a final thought. The first 15 seconds, honest to God, they're not about impressing us. They're about inviting us inviting us into your world, inviting us into your method of storytelling. All right, so here's my call to action today. If this shifted your perspective at all today, please do me a huge favor and share it with an actor who believes faster is better. Because guess what? Faster isn't better. Alive is better. Thank you so much for tuning into Casting Actors Cast. I look forward to sharing the next episode with you, and I hope you come on back and share it with your friends. Also, please leave a like and a share, a thumbs up, a subscribe. All of that stuff means the world to me. So if you got something out of this, I would really love it for you to give me some feedback. And don't forget to write if you want to. I'm Jeff Dreisbach. This is Casting Actors Cast.
From monologues to screen tests to every episode